Hello, hello, hello. How are you? My name is Brian K McNeill. I'm the sales confidence coach, also known as Paul B. And in my career, as a speaker and as a sales trainer and as a sales coach, I've collected a bunch of amazing stories over the years. And a little while ago, I thought it might be fun to share some of these useful fiction stories as well as useful nonfiction stories with you, particularly you, my entrepreneurial friends. Today, I'm going to share a story with you, particularly if you're feeling a little discouraged about your business, if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed by setbacks. This is a story that you may have heard before, or heard bits and pieces of this story before, but I think this story might be helpful to you, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. And without that, let's get this party started.
Hey, yeah, come through, everybody come see. Story time with Pop B.
Yeah.
If entertainment is what you need, story time with Pop B.
Yeah.
Interesting, entertaining for sure. Stories for adults, parents, to entrepreneurs. Got you laughing, you gonna have a good time. Still educational.
This is what you want now.
Come through, everybody come see.
Story time with Paul B.
Yeah. If entertainment is what you need.
Story time with Paul B. Let's go. Now, this story I'm going to tell you tonight is a true story. This is about this boy in Indiana. This boy in Indiana in 1895, at the age of 6, his father died. And because his father died, his mother had to go to work at a tomato cannery. And she left him home at 6 years old to care for and feed his younger brother and sister at age 6. And that was difficult for him. But at age 10, after living like this at age 10, he dropped out of school. He dropped out of school to start working in the fields in a farm and to make some money for the family. And at 10 years old, he's working in the fields as a farmer. A little while later, after about age maybe 12 or 13, he left the fields and he got a job painting horse carriages in this country. And he did that for a couple of years as well. When he was 14 years old, he lied. Excuse me, when he was 16 years old, he lied about his age and joined the army. And that worked out well for him. He was in the army for a year or two, and he got honorably discharged. Now, when he got honorably discharged from the army, he got a job right away working at the railroad, working on the railroads. And at the same time, he enrolled in college to become an attorney. So he's working on the railroad during the day and he's going to school in the evenings on the weekends to become a lawyer. A little while into his college career, he gets into a fight on campus and they kick him out of school. So his law career was done. Dang. So he had to move back home with his mother. He moved back home with his mother and he got a job at a life insurance company selling life insurance. And that worked out well for him for about a couple of years. And then he got fired from that job for not following orders. Dang. So now he's out of work again. He gets an opportunity to get a small ferry boat, ferrying people across the river in his town. And that business was doing pretty good. He started making a little bit of money in his ferry boat business. That's doing pretty good. And then he gets this idea to open up this he had this product that came across him, chemical lamps. He thought chemical lamps is going to be his ticket. So he sold his ferry company and he invested his money into this chemical lamp company. And once he invested his money, he discovered shortly after investing his money in a chemical lamp company that electric lights became popular. Electric lamps became popular, and everybody wanted electric lamps, not chemical lamps anymore. And that business failed. Dang. So at age 40, he runs across a guy that owns an oil company, and the guy hires him to run a service gas station. And so he takes the job there, and they had a little kitchen in the back. So he started frying up chicken to sell to the people that came to get gas there. And that was doing pretty good. We got a little bit popular. Everybody liked his chicken. So he decided, he's selling his chicken and everybody's liking his chicken. So he decides to open up a restaurant to sell his chicken. And he's operating his restaurant with his chicken that a lot of people seem to like. He started to get a little bit famous because of his chicken at this little restaurant. And a local restaurant, which was a rival of his, they got into a fight with him because they were a competition. They got into a shootout at his restaurant with another restaurant, and one of his employees was killed in the shootout. And his restaurant died behind that. Oh. But he still had his chicken recipe. He thought it was another idea. So he was able to, with loans and all that, he was able to buy a small hotel that had a restaurant attached to it. The property had a little hotel and had a restaurant in it. So he's operating his hotel and his little restaurant, selling his fried chicken that a lot of people seem to like. And that's doing pretty good. And that restaurant and that hotel, they catch on fire and burn to the ground. Burn to the ground, his hotel and his little restaurant. Now, with his insurance money that he got from that hotel and that restaurant, he was able to buy another hotel with a much bigger restaurant, a 140-seat restaurant. And he's thinking, this is going to be the move. So he buys this big restaurant with a little hotel on the property. And he's operating that restaurant for just a short while, selling his chicken in this big restaurant with a hotel attached to it. And then the highway was built about a mile or so away and diverted all the traffic away from his restaurant. And his restaurant died on the vine. It died. So now he's like struggling. What am I going to do? So he still has this popular chicken recipe that a lot of people seem to like. So he starts to try to sell. He goes to restaurants and says, look, let me cook some chicken for you. And if you like the chicken, if you want to sell it in your restaurant, I just want a percentage of what the chicken that you sell. And so he tried to sell that. And he's getting rejected left and right. By his count and by the records, he tried 1,009 times. He was rejected selling his chicken recipes to restaurants. 1,009 failures. 1,009 times he tries to sell his chicken recipes to a restaurant, and they all said no. But then he got lucky. And he was like 65 years old. When he was 75 years old. When he was 75 years old, one large restaurant chain decided to take his recipe on, and they agreed to pay him 4 cents per chicken. Okay, 4 cents per chicken. That's what he first started out. And he decided to open up his own restaurant again. Now he's selling his recipes to restaurants, and he has a small restaurant of his own. His restaurant started to die and started to not do well, and that restaurant failed as well. So all he's got now is his recipe, and he was getting paid Social Security of $105 a month. He's tried 1,009 times. He's down to just a little bit of savings and $105 a month to live on. So he kept trying to sell his recipes. After that large chain said yes to him, other restaurants decided to say yes to him as well. So he started to sell more of his chicken recipes. After 1,009 failures, he started to get some traction, okay? And he opened up his first restaurant, and it was Kentucky Fried Chicken. He opened up that restaurant, and he was selling to the restaurants that took his chicken recipes to franchise the idea of turning their restaurants into Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now, at age 75 is when this really started to kick off for him. This man had a lot of failures. He's been fired from everything, having to quit school in the 6th grade, all that kind of stuff, having to take care of brother and sister, and all these failures. And at age 75, he started to get some traction. Started to get restaurants to become Kentucky Fried Chicken. At age 90, when he passed away, he had 6,000 restaurants throughout the United States, Canada, and Jamaica. 6,000 restaurants with Kentucky Fried Chicken on them. That was at age 90 when he died. Now in 2018, last number I checked, there was more than 22,000 KFCs. So tonight, the story I want to talk to you about is if you are feeling discouraged in your business, you have an idea, but you're feeling discouraged because you're getting turned down. You're not getting enough people say yes. Consider Colonel Sanders. Consider Colonel Sanders, because that man failed a lot of times. And he was at age 75 before he finally struck out on something that stuck for him. Consider Colonel Sanders. He spent the last few years of his life traveling his world. He sold the company in his 80s. He sold the company, so he had a little bit of money. But part of that, they wanted to keep him as an ambassador for the company. So he spent his remaining years traveling the world as a Kentucky Fried Chicken ambassador. And people were thrilled when he came to their town dressed in his traditional Kentucky Fried Chicken, Colonel Sanders outfit. Y'all know the story about Colonel Sanders, but maybe you didn't know that it started out hard for him. And it was hard for him his whole life, especially now today. If you have a business that's not clicking, if you have a business that's discouraging you, consider the story of Colonel Sanders. Consider someone who, armed with nothing more than a chicken recipe that a lot of people seem to like, at an advanced age, he made some things happen. Again, my name is Brian K McNeill. This is Story Time with Paul B. I hope you guys found some value in this story. I appreciate the comments in there as well. But consider that story there and make it, maybe find your own meaning in that story. If Colonel Sanders can do it, so can you. Failure is not fatal. Try again. Try again and again and again. Try 1,000 times.
Come through, everybody come see. Story time with Pop B. Yeah. If entertainment is what you need, story time with Pop B. Yeah. Interesting, entertaining for sure. Stories for adults, parents, and entrepreneurs. Got you laughing, you gonna have a good time. Still educational.
This is what you want now.
Come through, everybody come see. Story time with Pop B.
Yeah.
If entertainment is what you need.
Story time with Paul B. Let's go. Now, I know a lot of people have heard this story before, but maybe you hadn't heard it the way I tell it. If you found value in this story, I encourage you to please share these stories. Share these stories on your LinkedIn. Share these stories on your Facebook. Subscribe to my YouTube page as well. Thank you again for all your comments. I see them all. And I'll be back tomorrow night with another story that I hope will give you a message, that I hope will encourage you, that I hope that you will enjoy. I thank you for the moments that you shared with me tonight. You have a beautiful rest of your evening. Good night.